Hey everybody, and welcome to Backseat Sports. I'm Josh, and that is Caleb, and we are back with another video, guys. Man, Huskers back on a roll, beating Illinois 54-35, putting up over 600 yards of offense. It was a good week, and it was fun to watch.
Oh yeah, for sure. Ozigbo with those two 60-yard runs. That was hot.
Oh yeah.
It was a delicious game. Our offense just played great. Our defense had some takeaways at key moments again. And then there was also some definite frustrations. You knew AJ Bush was going to run the ball going into the game, and yet he was still able to run all over us for over 200 yards. You're just banging your head against the wall, even though it wasn't that close. You always want to see your defense perform a little bit better and just absolutely bury them. That never quite happened. We actually had to put Martinez back in after we had sat him in the fourth quarter. So there was some good things and some bad things for sure. Offense has been the highlight, definitely the past 7 weeks of that over 450 yards of offense.
Yep, school record.
Yeah. Our defense, on the other hand, has not. Josh, what was your favorite play of the game?
I mean, it had to have been Ozigbo's nasty run. I mean, that was real nice when he broke those tackles up the middle and took it to the house. Couldn't have been happier about that one. That one was beautiful. I mean, like we said last week, I mean, Ozigbo's a completely different player than he was last year, and even than he was in the spring, during the spring game. I mean, he's a completely different player, and he definitely will be seeing some NFL playing time in the upcoming few years.
For sure that.
Okay, during this game, we did put up a lot of points. We dominated, but and a lot of times, Illinois handed that game to us.
Oh.
They had some big mistakes. All sides of the ball, huge mistakes.
Two muffs,
5 turnovers
on special teams
for Illinois. Yeah, 2 muffed punts, man. They had a rough go at it, and they really did give us a lot of opportunity to win that game and take that game and put it away. And
for sure.
We can't expect just handouts like that most weeks. I mean, that's just not gonna happen. But yeah, Illinois did their best to lose that game.
Oh no,
for sure.
Yeah, and if they don't muff those punts, and I mean that's a whole different ball game. And then if we don't block it, block one of their punts for a safety as well. Special teams really just played out. It was really impressive. Even the long snapper who replaced Jordan Ober, he made the play. That's just exciting stuff to see our special teams kind of mold and form and get so much better. As we've kind of taken out the guys that have been there doing it for a long time, and we put in new guys that are hungrier. It's nice to see, and that makes everybody better in the long run. Like Lamar Jackson, sitting him out has made him a better player, and he could have left and quit. And just the changing of the culture has been cool to see, even in the special teams. So I definitely like seeing improvements there, because it's been a while since we blocked a punt. I cannot remember the last time.
Yeah, I mean, the defense still definitely struggled.
Yes.
To say the least, Nebraska's defense, Huskers defense, still has a long ways to go. And it's going to be interesting to see how they perform these last 2 weeks against Iowa and Michigan State. Illinois did their best to tear us apart, ran the ball all over us. Like we said, AJ Bush dominated in his return to Memorial Stadium. I would have liked to see a little bit more improvement on that defensive side, but I mean, you can't be disappointed with how the offense played. It's another game where you feel good as a Husker fan. You think you saw improvement, especially on offense.
Special teams, yeah.
I mean, even though... Yeah, and specifically special teams for sure. We all know the defense isn't great, but I would have liked to see a little bit more from that defense during the game.
Yeah, I guess the biggest question is for me is, they had just run 127 yards with AJ Bush in their last game when they dominated Minnesota.
Illinois' offense is actually good.
Yeah, so and obviously their running back, he's leading the Big Ten at 9.5 yards per carry. So he's obviously good, but I wish we would have done more to kind of stop that. I mean, there was a lot of times where it was just blatant that they were going to run the ball. But, man, it's just going to take time and talent, I think, for our defense to get a lot better. Because we were one of the worst defenses these past 2 seasons. And we've also switched defensive coordinators the past 3 years straight. So those guys that have been here for 5 years, those redshirt seniors, they've seen 4 defensive coordinators, so that must really suck.
One thing that I thought was pretty funny was that Scott Frost said that he felt like a bad coach only giving Ozigbo 11 carries. But I mean, at the end of the day, Ozigbo had 162 yards on those 11 carries, taking multiple to the house, 3 touchdowns, 66 yards long. I mean, man, he did his work with those 11 carries, and I just thought it was really funny how Frost handled that in the Monday presser.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was walking in here thinking this is definitely a game where Ozigbo could have gotten you know, well over 200 yards. And man, you know, if he would have gotten the ball, you know, gotten 22 carries, it would have been fun to see just how many yards he could rack up. You know, Illinois or not, you know, if he could get close to 300, that would be pretty cool, especially just for him.
Oh, for
but
sure,
there's still definitely, I
mean,
still think there's a chance in this Iowa or Michigan State game.
It's gonna be tough. I'm against Michigan State, so we can transition here into Michigan State. Yeah, Michigan State's coming in with a really interesting season so far. Okay, this is a 2.5-point spread. Michigan State's favored by 2.5 points, a 49-point over/under, so it's a little bit lower of an over/under than I think some might have expected. But I mean, specifically, you know, this season they've done a fantastic job against their good opponents, like holding Michigan to only 21. They held Ohio State last week to 26. I mean, that's solid. And then they beat Penn State 21-17. Again, they've lost to Michigan, lost to Ohio State, but really the games were pretty close throughout both games. I mean, last week was a really tough game for Michigan State. They played horrible offensively. They were absolutely tragic. My word, it was bad. Their QB situation is completely up for debate right now and in question. We don't know who's starting this week against Nebraska. And I mean, that's going to be a big question moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. When you have two quarterbacks, you have none. It's definitely tough for them. Lewerke and Lombardi are not what you want. Not what D'Antoni wants.
Yeah. Lewerke had an 8.9 QBR against Ohio State. He was 11 for 28 with multiple turnovers, and he had a rough one. And he has, out of his 11 completions, though, 11 of them went to Cody White, who's their pretty fantastic sophomore wide receiver. He made some big plays against Ohio State and did a lot for him, and he's definitely a playmaker we're going to have to watch out for on their offensive side of the ball. But for the most part, they have really struggled offensively to run the ball specifically. And, I mean, that's one thing that people are saying with Lombardi's. He's a little bit better on his feet, a little bit better running the ball. So maybe they could use him a little bit more in those read options and things like that. So if I had to guess, I would guess Lombardi's starting. And we haven't seen much of him this season, so that'd be a pretty interesting play from the Spartans to start a guy like that against us.
Yeah, when they said they want to kind of keep it quiet and private, that probably means they're going to make a switch.
Yeah, D'Antonio said, he didn't want to announce who was going to start, and he wanted to keep it in-house, quote-unquote, until the game. So, you know, it's hard to say, but if I had to guess, I'd put my money on Lombardi.
It's going to be a good game for sure. Michigan State's defense is good, only allowing 73 yards rushing for their opponents.
Yeah, number 1 in the country.
But they also allow over 220 yards for passing. So there's definitely space. And when you have a dual threat quarterback, especially one like Martinez, the best dual threat quarterback in the Big Ten, going to be close to arguably maybe next year for best quarterback in the Big Ten. It's going to definitely propose a new threat that Michigan State definitely hasn't seen.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's very few teams that they've played that have had like really dominant rushing attacks. I mean, Arizona State's probably the only one where like they really dominated Arizona State on the ground. And I mean, even then, that was early on in the year. A lot's changed since then. I mean, against Arizona State, they held Eno Benjamin to only 27 yards, which he has 1,300 on the season. So that was an impressive performance for Michigan State. But again, so much time has passed since then, and they haven't really played very many dominant rushing attacks these last few weeks. I mean, you can debate with Ohio State, obviously, and I mean, Michigan was able to move the ball against them on the ground specifically. I'm not convinced that Michigan State's run defense is as good as people are saying. Obviously, it's good. Yeah. I still believe that Nebraska is going to be able to move the ball, especially on the ground, and as long as we can keep the ball moving on the ground, that should open up the big plays deep. And I'm expecting at least one pretty big play downfield from the Huskers this game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there'll definitely be a couple good scheming things. Franklin had a couple really good plays against Michigan State to get the ball downfield, a couple of draw plays and other things, QB sneaks, that got some yardage against Michigan State. It's definitely going to be a battle, though, in the trenches. Their front four really caused a lot of disruption against Michigan State. Against Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. They really did a good job of getting to the quarterback, showing a lot of different things. So it's going to be definitely on the O lineman for us to move this ball, to hold their seals and give Martinez, at least 3 seconds to get that ball out, so that we're going to be able to make those plays downfield. So that'd be my biggest concern on the offense, and that's definitely been the biggest concern this year. But there's also been a lot of improvement. Yeah,
well, one thing that Ohio State did to really minimize that pressure was to throw quick passes, slants, screens, and they were really using the play action well to keep those linebackers frozen for a few seconds. But regardless, they really did get pressure on Haskins in that first half. They were all over him, and really flustered him. So if Nebraska can give Martinez the time he needs, I mean, that'll change the game for the Huskers. And, I mean, that's what we need to do to really move the ball and give ourselves a good shot in this game.
No, for sure. And Michigan State's run game has not been good at all. So for our defense side, we have a really good chance. They're super inefficient, you know, for their carry and their run game. And their passing game, obviously, as we said, has not been great. And that's probably going to be our weakest points. That's probably what they're going to go at. For both of those quarterbacks, they had a lot of just one option plays. You know, Lewerke and Lombardi would kind of stare down one target the whole time. I think we have a very good chance to win this game.
Oh, no. We definitely do. And that's what's exciting about it, man, is like, oh, man, if we can beat Michigan State heading into Iowa to win those, like, to win 5 of our last 6 and our only loss against Ohio State, man, that would be so great.
That's some big momentum.
And, I mean, think of how much that would mean for the team to win, you know, in senior day at home against Michigan State, a solid opponent. I mean, obviously, Michigan State's had their downs, their rises and falls of this season. But, yeah, it would mean so much for the Huskers. I think there's a legitimate chance for Nebraska to win this game. And if we can get the ball to Martinez's hands quick, Martinez can be accurate on those short throws, get the ball to Spielman and Stanley Morgan. And that was one thing that Ohio State did really well, was they got to the outside. On the goal line, they used some reverses to move the ball effectively on the ground. And even when they weren't running the ball effectively with their backs traditionally, they were using those motions and those sweeps to get the ball outside, and that worked against Michigan State. So I think Nebraska can implement a lot of that, and it should be effective to at least a certain degree. And I think Nebraska has a good chance. I'm going to say it again.
No.
All right, so Caleb, what do you think the score is going to be, man? We got some score predictions.
I think it's going to be a good game, and I think we're going to win 38-20. I think.
Oh, wow.
I think
we're blowing them out.
Yeah, I think so. I think our defense is going to play a great game like it kind of did against Ohio State. Except they're not going to be near as good of an offense. I think we're going to get a good amount of takeaways this game. And I think our offense is going to be able to do what it has been doing these past, you know, 7 games. We're going to be able to drive the ball well. We're going to see a lot of good things. Our run game is going to really establish itself, and that pass game, it's going to be, you know, just very complemented against each other. It's just going to be an awesome game, and I think senior day, we walk away happy.
That's bold, man. I don't know. That's a lot of points. I'm going to take, I mean, I'm with you. I'm going to pick Nebraska, which, again, I really don't think it's a homer thing. I think Nebraska can win this game. Absolutely can. I mean, I think it's going to be at least close. Caleb's a little crazy. I mean, I don't think it's going to be 18 points, but I 100% believe that we can win this game. I've said it like 5 times in this video, but I'm going to go with 35-28. So it's going to be a 1-touchdown game. It's going to be really close to the end of the game. It's going to be neck and neck throughout. But I think Nebraska pulls it out, man. Go Big Red. I think it's going to be a good game, and I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm excited.
Well, guys, as always, we love to hear what you guys have to say. Are the Cornhuskers going to pull away with a win on senior day? What's your score predictions? What's going to happen? How many run yards is Ozigbo going to have? What do you guys think? Let us know. And as always, I'm Caleb. That's Josh. This has been Backseat Sports, and we'll see you next video.
See ya.
There was only a few defensive players that really changed the game. You know, Luke Gifford forced the fumble and got it back. Lamar Jackson stepped up. You know, Mo Berry played a great
all
game.
Over the field.
I don't think our defensive talent is anywhere near where it needs to be. Josh and I were just laughing and watching 2013 when we